website that has a lot of social network integration, aggregation,
Sure.
video sharing, shopping, Facebook, MySpace integration.
Right.
Sounds like Drupal's the way to go.
Oh yeah.
Where do I find a developer?
I'm not going to pitch myself because I'm knee deep in a big.
Throw out some names, some good names.
Okay. Well, again, it depends on your budget. Are you local in town?
Local, yeah.
Okay. Four Kitchens Studios, I think, is one.
Yeah.
They're Drupal guys. There's a guy from Ben Frankie, I can't pronounce his last name. He's speaking here today. He runs a Drupal shop here in town. And he's very knowledgeable about that sort of thing. Yes. I can never pronounce it. Yeah. Yeah, he's a guy, they know Drupal pretty well. If you go to the Drupal website, there's actually groups, like there's a tab or something from on the right-hand side that's groups. There's an Austin group of about 120 members. There's groups from most major cities if you guys are, from out of town. But that's great because you can log on, register, and just post questions, find other people. A lot of them have user groups. There's an Austin Drupal user group. There's a Joomla user group in Austin. I don't know, there may be, or some informal people that put together. But check that out because, a lot of people post advertisements in there. I need a Drupal expert. The other good place to check is guru.com. If you guys have ever used that, it's like a huge online marketplace for nerds. Guru and elance.com are like two of the biggest kind of freelancing find me an expert. You'll get a lot of overseas development companies and a lot of Indian companies wanting to do work for free or near free, but again, your mileage may vary. But those are great. You can search by specific areas of interest. I need people who know Drupal, Joomla, or even SEO or that sort of thing. Those are great resources if you can't find somebody local. But it's definitely much better. About 4 months of experience from building one just recently.
In Drupal? Or?
Joomla has some components out there for video sharing, for community stuff. They're okay, but again, if you have some business plan to build the next MySpace, start with Drupal as a platform. You can go out there and buy specific packages. How are we doing on time? They're going to keep it up. They offer you a ton of space. Yeah.
What can be done to kind of monitor or
detect or prevent traffic theft, like from spyware programs like Zango that will target perhaps your website when someone visits your site and just
That's a very good question. And there's a lot of answers to that. Again, it depends on a couple of different levels. Generally, the internet service provider, if they're good, will have firewalls, and not only that, they'll be monitoring traffic for suspicious activity. When I say traffic, like there's a lot of attacks that can come in via URLs and that sort of thing. The good ones will monitor that. The bottom line, if I'm running Joomla or if I'm running Drupal, the bottom line is stay aware of updates to everything you've got running on it. If Joomla comes up with security release and an add-on comes up with security release, make sure somebody installs it. Most of those sites get hacked because of poor programming and somebody didn't update something. If I'm running Joomla 1.0 and it's 3 years old, and there's a lot of, you can go to any of these websites of the software you're using, all of them will have some sort of mailing list you can join for like security updates and that sort of thing. Stay on top of it at the very least. Pay somebody to update your site when these things come out. That's where 99% of the hacking comes, is because somebody found a hole in WordPress and they used it to, to hack your server.
As a heretic when it comes to SEO and some of these popular beliefs that have crept into the marketing culture of late, so I may accidentally say some things that are controversial. If I do, close your ears and don't tell the other speakers that Mark said this. My caveat is these are my beliefs, this is what I've found through my experience. And as soon as we get to the PowerPoint, you'll see kind of what I'm talking about. So, as I was working on my presentation this morning at about 2 a.m., which of course is the time you work on presentations when you're giving them at 11 o'clock the next morning, interestingly, I was surfing YouTube, watching videos, and I had an emergency. I found a country song that I liked. Now, being a nice Jewish boy from New York, when you like a country song, that's an emergency. So I decided I was going to Google a rabbi on call. I figured somewhere in the country there's got to be an on-call rabbi who handles these types of emergencies. Jews who like country music, Jews who have second homes, the whole thing. So I Googled rabbi on call. You know what I found? Anybody know? Someone's Googling it right now. There is a physician in Idaho named Dr. Thomas Rabbi, and he is on call this evening. Much delay tax I can give you. I have two companies. One is NLI Media Group. We do everything. It's kind of a job shop. The second is a startup called Internet Broadcasting Group, and we are hoping to be internet, kind of the leaders in the internet broadcasting space. Magically, this will appear in a minute. Because, you know, as a well-prepared presenter, my notes are also in my PowerPoint. A couple of things before I get started, like I haven't. If you have questions, comments, ideas as we get going, please raise your hand, shout them out. This is going to work better if it's interactive. Let me start with kind of a very scientific survey. Raise your hand if you use audio or web or video on your website or in your web marketing. Okay, maybe a quarter. Raise your hand if you have something called a podcast. Raise your hand if you believe you've made audio or video effective in marketing your website. Raise your hand if you think you've made audio or video effective in marketing your website. Awesome. There's a folder on that jump drive called SMB, SEO, 6 letters, something. Okay. Anybody here have a podcast? Anybody raise their hand? Okay. So, who here watches YouTube? Who here has had their decision to purchase a product or service affected by YouTube? One person. Why are you all here?
Figure out how to do it.
SEMforSMB, there's a bunch of folders in there. There we go, presentation, hit that big F5 key, and I really appreciate your laptop. Magic. Luckily, we've only wasted 5 minutes. Streaming audio. Who knows what streaming audio is? Okay. Streaming audio means the audio just comes at you in a stream, and wherever it is in the program, you start listening from there. Right? Just like you turn on the radio. Maybe they still have a radio, like planes. Turn on the radio, and if they are 10 minutes past the hour, that's whatever they're playing is up. If they're playing Journey, REO, Speedwagon, and Styx, that's what you're listening to. Any fans? One person raises his hand. Wow.
I was writing that.
Oh, okay, good. Streaming audio is more expensive and bandwidth intensive to do, has a less established distribution model throughout the internets, and it's difficult to use as part of a backlinking strategy. Now, if you don't know what backlinking is, you're going to hear a lot about backlinking over the course of the next 2 days. But essentially, backlinking is putting a bunch of links to your website from credible places that make Google, Yahoo, MSN, Dogpile, Big Mama, and all those search engines out there think your website is the place to go for certain pieces of information. The other model is on-demand audio. That means I listen to it when I want. It tends to be program-oriented. Some people call these podcasts. Here's my problem with podcasts. There's actually a podcast called Two 13-Year-Olds Screaming into a Microphone. Now, I'm not going to put my company's marketing or my client's marketing on par with two 13-year-olds screaming into a microphone and say, that's